So we already know we want Nicolas Cage as Dracula, but does this movie suck or is it awesome? Let's talk about that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Renfield, the newest film from director Chris McKay. So from the director of the Lego Batman movie comes the story of Renfield, who is of course played by Nicolas Hoult. Renfield is of course the famous character from the Bram Stoker Dracula franchise. This of course Dracula being played by Nicolas Cage. It's a story of how Renfield basically for decades upon decades has done Dracula's bidding. Now he feels like he needs to get away from Dracula, but Dracula in this movie is more of like an abusive individual who kind of keeps him locked away in kind of his emotions and, you know, what would happen if you were like a narcissistic abuser. And so Renfield, in the process of everything, gets involved with a character named who's played by Awkwafina, who's a police detective, and of course this crime family called the Lobo family, who is run by the characters played by Shohreh Aghdashloo and of course Ben Schwartz. And basically it becomes how does get away from Dracula, as well as being forced in the middle of this kind of confrontation that includes the Lobo family, which is, like I said, a crime syndicate. So there you go. So with that said, this is a very interesting film. Of course, we all want to see Nicolas Cage play weird and wacky characters. Him taking on the mantle of Dracula is kind of what we always hope for because that is Nicolas Cage. It feels like the perfect fit. But to use the fact that they're doing the kind of a twist on this whole franchise and having Renfield be the major character, the main central character, is a very interesting one. And on top of that, they're using the idea of abusers. They're using the idea of like what would happen if like you're the person that was like the one controlling you was like using all those kind of steps and ideas to keep him down, and what would happen if he got involved with somebody who was in the middle of an investigation and stuff like that. And on top of that, make it very, very violent and very gory. So I'm really intrigued by this. I was not a big fan of the Tomorrow War, which Chris McKay directed. I like Lego Batman. He worked on Lego movies, stuff like that. Nicolas Hoult is another individual like Nicolas Cage that I really love as an actor. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he's come a long way since About a Boy. He's just a very charismatic individual. If you saw The Menu last year, he's one of those people that's very likable when it comes to what he is able to do. You could take it here or there for Awkwafina, but this is a movie that I was intrigued by. Like I said, it's a rated R comedy horror film. It has, like I said, the kind of twist on the material, and has Nicolas Cage as Dracula. So, I mean, I guess the question really remains, is that all you need to have a very successful film? And I will say this, the parts that deal with Dracula as Nicolas Cage as Dracula and Nicolas Hoult as Renfield are absolutely fantastic, to be fairly honest. I think Nicolas Cage is doing what Nicolas Cage does best, which is over the top and crazy. I like that Chris McKay basically allows Nicolas Cage to be who he is and the kind of the mannerisms and stuff like that. The fact that he's playing the Lord of Darkness or the Prince of Darkness is just absolutely riveting stuff to watch when, he's just his chaotic nature. It's a very fun role. It's the standout of the movie. The parts that he's in it is just absolutely delivers on all the momentum that you would expect. And he does some gore in this movie that is just absolutely fun and exciting and entertaining and horrifying. And it's everything you expect from a Dracula style film that is rated R. And on top of that, like I said, Nicolas Hoult, who's playing Renfield, his character's not as well developed as you would hope, but I think he's a lot of fun. Once again, Nicolas Hoult is just very likable and charismatic. And he really towers over, I mean, he's a tall guy, but he towers over the performance of kind of being in step with what Dracula, the Nicolas Cage character, does in this movie. So I really found that just a lot of fun. It's not the most well-developed movie you'll ever watch when it comes to the characters, but I think there's enough there for the 93-minute runtime that it has. It just feels like a very fun, very kinetic, just silly film with a lot of dark undertones when it comes to like the abusive nature of who Dracula is. And it makes a lot of sense because this movie is told through narration and stuff like that, voiceover narration, which is not, hampered down or anything like that. And then I really love what this film does, which basically it uses Nicolas Cage and Nicolas Hoult to basically incorporate them like Forrest Gump style into the original 1930s Dracula films. So we see a lot of like black and white, very old school filmmaking. So we see Nicolas Cage as Bela Lugosi and stuff like that, which is just absolutely fun, entertaining stuff. So I really felt that was a really well done really exciting moment to watch this kind of incorporate the classic nature of what, you know, the Universal is known for when it comes to the horror universe and stuff like that, when it comes to Dracula and Wolfman and Frankenstein and stuff like that. Well, I do have to say some negative stuff, and this is just coming from me as a reviewer, as a critic, and just what I feel about, you know, when it comes to storytelling. I don't think the stuff with the Lobo family and Awkwafina really is that compelling, to be fairly honest. I think it works in the context of this being a 93-minute movie, so you have to have some conflict, you have to have some, you know, antagonists and stuff like that. But I think when you're focusing on Renfield and Dracula, the story really works. I think the story really works very well. It's when you focus on all that other stuff with Shohreh Aghdashloo, and you work on Ben Schwartz, who plays mother and son, and you work on the Awkwafina, who's dealing with the corrupt police system. I just think that stuff is just so hammy and so rote and just so boring that you've seen it a billion times before. It's been done over and over and over. It doesn't really add any sense of interest to me personally. I think the chemistry between Awkwafina and Nicolas Hoult doesn't really work very well. And that's just my personal opinion. I think when you go into this movie, you kind of like realize what the story is very substandard, very standard by its own right. I think you'll enjoy it, and a lot of people will not really care about that because they're so invested in like what Nicolas Cage and Nicolas Hoult are doing. I just think when it comes to like the overarching story, I think they could have done a much more interesting idea. I think they could have done much more intriguing, much more thought-provoking, much more, you know, much more original stuff than what they put on the screen. It just feels like the writer, and this is actually co-written by Robert Kirkman, who created The Walking Dead, which I thought was very interesting. But I think you're having so much fun that you kind of want to forgive that kind of stuff, but it has to be noted in a review that stuff is there, that you know, the stuff with Ben Schwartz, as fun as he's having in this movie, and everybody's having fun, everybody's enjoying what they're doing. But the Lobo family is just a family to be used as fodder to Nicolas Cage's Dracula character, and to be killed off and stuff like that. So there's not a lot there to like warrant that it's like the worst thing in the world, but it's been so tropey and so used many times before that it feels kind of boring. And that's where I kind of lie in my negatives. Like I said, there's so much strong stuff there, but there's also like once Awkwafina and the group come into the mix, the Lobo family, stuff like that, it just whatever. It is what it is. But there's some fun moments where, like I said, you see in the trailer with like the support group. I thought it was a lot of fun. And other than that, you know, the music's good. The you know, cinematography, the view of the world is very good. A lot of greens and blues and stuff like that. I wish they would have ingested a little more into the New Orleans feel to it that they don't do in this movie. It just feels like kind of an afterthought, to be fairly honest. And that's, you know, it is what it is. But I think in the end, I think I still had a lot of fun with this movie. I laughed. You know, there's a lot of great gore moments, a lot of great violence. The violence and blood is over the top and silly and unrealistic in a lot of sense, but that's what this kind of movie is. So with that said, I think it's still a lot of fun. It is helped by the performances of Nicolas Cage, who does an amazing Dracula. It's also helped by Nicolas Hoult, and everything else is just kind of there to serve the story in a lot of respects. So with that said, I think that's going to do it. I think that's going to be my take on Renfield. It's still worth watching. It's still a good horror film. I could see it like Halloween Horror Nights as a house in that respect. So with that said, that'll do it. That'll be my take on Renfield, the new horror film starring Nicolas Cage. So anyways, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. Are you looking forward to seeing this movie? What is your favorite Nicolas Cage performance? All that good stuff. With that said, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.